Welcome to the second module of administering service and support applications in Salesforce. I'm Adrien Sacco, Salesforce Certified Professional and Consultant. And in the last module, we had an overview of what the Service Cloud platform has to offer. In this module, we will learn how to configure the basic case management features of Service Cloud. We will learn how to configure the service processes. This is very important as those processes should be customized for every company. They describe the steps a case goes through at your company. We'll also see how to configure paths for cases in order to show beautiful visual indicators of progress for your cases. Finally, we will configure the Service Console to make sure your users get access to a user interface that's optimized for high volume and speed of case resolution. So, let's get going right away and let's learn how you can configure your service processes. The first concept you need to understand in order to configure them is the concept of a business process. In Salesforce, a business process is a set of steps that need to be taken to arrive at a certain outcome. This allows you to always know where your records stand and what still needs to be done to advance your case further down the closing and resolution line. For example, here we have a very simple, generic case resolution process before us. For Globomantics, general is a very simple process to follow. They get a new case they need to resolve. They look for a resolution and put it in progress. Then they wait to hear back from the customer to see if the proposed resolution worked. If it worked, we close the case. If not, we go back to in progress. Very simple. Now, if we are to compare that to the refund process of a refund request case, you can see that it's much more involved. Instead of blindly sending a resolution, we need to have levels of escalation in order to resolve those refund requests. First, the billing team will have to review the case to see what refund we can allow. Then, we need to get an approval from our supervisor in order to be sure we can issue that refund. From there, we go back to our generic steps from the general process. Now, in order to model those steps in Salesforce Service Cloud, we will need to conceive what's called a master process. A master process is a list of all the steps that need to be taken by a case. Now, as you can see on this diagram, our general and refund service processes share 4 stages: new, in progress, waiting on customer, and closed. So what we'll be able to do is to apply the same stage to both processes. In between in progress and waiting on customer, we have very specific steps to the refund process. That's not an issue. All we have to do is add all of those individual steps to the master process. Once that's done, we can go and create our distinct sales processes derived from the master process by selecting only the steps that apply. The last thing we'll need to do is tell Salesforce when to use a specific business process over the other. And that is done using record types. Now, if you remember your Salesforce administration essentials, a record type allows you to have different fields show on the same object. For example, here, on our case, we could have 2 sets of fields show up, one for general cases and one for refund cases. That's because of the page layout. The same approach stands true for our business process. When creating an opportunity record type, we will be able to attach that record type to a specific support process. Once that's done, whenever we'll go ahead and create a general or refund case, the correct service process will automatically be selected thanks to the record type. Easy, right? So to recap, if you want to configure a business process, you first have to add all the steps to your master process. Then you select the steps you want in each business process from your master process. If you don't have them already, you need to create your page layouts. And finally, you need to create the record types, selecting the proper page layout and process. And that's that. So let's see how everything works in practice.